Um, okay, is my screen showing?
Emissions. Oh, you can't see. No, we can see. Okay, we can't see your screen yet.
Sorry.
We can only see your handsome face. Okay. Yes. Okay. Yeah, we can see it. Perfect.
Okay.
No. Oh, sorry.
Where was I? Okay. Okay, great. At least I can see what I'm doing on two places. Okay, so I was talking about what's it called? I was talking about statement and expressions, right? So I sorry, the code we're actually seeing right now. Um, in every language, every programming language, basically, the first thing that comes to mind is input and output. So basically, you're able to input something and output it to an API, to your screen, to your browser. And one of the exciting things we have is called prompts. So what prompt does is that it helps you input something to your screen. So as you can see, what I just did here, right? I have a variable called age, right? And I'm assigning the variable to the prompt, right? With the string in it, with a string saying, "Tell me tell me your age," or we can change it to "Tell me your name." We should all try this out. The moment I do console.log, the age, like I'm executing, what's it called? Though basically we don't execute variables, you majorly execute just functions. But the moment I run this, it gives me a pop-up, so I can type something. Let's say, "Tell me your name." I can just put, say, let me use my name. And the moment I click on enter, you can see the uh, on the command prompt. Sorry, the console, that it outputted my name. Right. We can also use what's it called? There is another one called alert. Right. I can just use what's it called? Alert, and let me first have something like give a name, declaring a variable name, and assigning it to the string called entire, right? Then I can use the alert method. I think I'll call it. It's actually a browser method, so it's more like a facade function, but we'll get to that. So if I call this, um, let's see if I don't think I did that. You can see actually I've created my name to the screen. I think we should try this out and you know, so we can move on to other things. So please, let's try it out. You know, the best way to learn is to actually try things out, and you know, we would still get to some really exciting things going forward. Right. So let me know if you have tried that out. The next thing we will be focusing on today is called operators. Right. If you notice in the previous code sessions that I shared with you, I did something like declaring a variable a and assigning it to, let's say, 4, and also declaring a variable b and assigning it to let's say 3. Always some people don't always end your statement with a semicolon. This is a statement, right? This is a statement, and variable b is an expression. Don't forget that, right? But everything that ends with what's it called, a semicolon, right, is statement. So if I do a times b, the multiplication sign in this is actually called an operator, right? We have the assignment operator, like this is assignment operator. You get, we have the, what's it called, in mathematics, we have the math operator basically, which comes, we have the addition, subtraction, division, you know. So what I mean is, A, the operator of the multiplication sign, B. So these things that we do in mathematics are actually called um, the, operators, right? We also have compound assignments, you know. So you need to understand that this assignment doesn't necessarily equal to doesn't necessarily mean equal to. It's actually assigning the value of 4 to the variable of A. So this guy, right, is by the time if I do console.log, if I do a console.log A, right, and run it, it actually gives me 4. So the variable declaration of A is like a container holding the value of 4. I don't know if you understand me. Variables in most cases stands out containers, like they're holding what's it called, the values for you. So if you assign something, it doesn't necessarily mean A is equal to 4. A doesn't necessarily mean it's equal to 4. It is being assigned to A. So it's more like A is the what's it called, the jack. So we have in the operators, we have other type of operators. Let me just do a comment on array operators, right? We have the plus compound assignment, which is things like plus equal to or minus equal to, and so what do you use the compound assignment to do? So let's say on a norm, you do things like a, let's say the variable a times a, right? So you can still do a times a. If I do a times a, basically, let me just use this. You should see that it will still work. Okay. Sorry. See that the variable declaration of a multiplied by a would still, it's a container, so you can always use it to do whatever you want. But what if I want to use a compound operator? So I'll do something like a plus is equal to 2, right? If I run this on my console, I get 6. So what this actually means is saying, what the compound operator for this means is a is equal to a plus 2. I don't know if you get what I'm saying. So this is a compound operator. You'll see it a lot in programming. By the time you start doing a lot of this, you see these things a lot, like using compound operators. You know, it's just like shortcuts, right? A lot of people still use things like the incremental or decremental. You could do, right? So if I do a plus plus, it basically adds 1. So let's do console.log a plus plus, for instance, right? And if I run this, it gives me 7. And that's because if I remove this, so the a plus plus is still the same as a is equal to a plus 1. I don't know if you get my point. We also have things like object property access, right? So basically, when we start working with objects, so console.log, for instance, is this dot. The dot in console.log, right, is a property access. Objects are values that hold other values at specific name locations called properties. So for instance, object.a is actually going to go and get something inside, uh, let's say an object that has the property key value pair of, let's say, a is equal to, sorry, an object is equal to 1. Right? If you do this,
Tyler. Oh, sorry everyone. So Ty just went off because of his network. So we'll reach out to him to get him back. Apologies. Welcome back. Hello, Tyler.
hello, I'm sorry guys, the light went off. Okay, can you see my screen? Hello?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm sorry, I didn't plan to work from home today. I had food poisoning and I had to stay in the house. So, so as I was explaining, object property access, though we'll come back to a lot of these things going forward. But if I do a console.log on this, right? Let me do this on that. You see it runs let's do objects.
Tyler.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Tyler. Yeah, sorry.
I can hear you.
We can hear you. Okay, I think it's better now. We could
Okay.
barely hear you some minutes ago. Thank you.
Okay. So we have object property access, equality. There are different types of operators which would come across later on. We have the logical, which is this one stands for and, this one stands for sorry, this one stands for the logical or. So you can say A or B, A or B. Right? We have the less than and an equality sign, which is if you want to say um, A is equals to 2, and you say, okay, let me always use the var so to understand. I would say var B is equals to A, right? If you console.log A is equals to B, it will give you a true or false, right? So it gives you true, right? But if we use the strict equals to, it does the same thing because it's giving you the value, right? So there are cases where we'll get into where some values might not naturally be the same, right? But because they have the same value, like for instance, if we use A is equals to a string of 2, for instance, right? And we run this, the same thing applies, So let's get to, please, if you don't understand anything about the operators we just talked about, let me know. You can unmute and just ask questions. Because the next thing we're getting into is values and types. Let me comment this out. So the next thing we're getting into is values and types, right? For instance, if you ask an employee at a phone store how much a certain phone costs, the person might say, let's say $99, right? It's giving you an actual numeric value, a figure that represents what you will need to pay plus taxes, to buy what you need. Enough stories. Let's just go straight into this. So we have strings, for instance. Like this is a string. This is a string, and this is a number, right? 42 is a number, 43 rather. We also have Boolean types, which is true or false. Give me a minute, please. Hello? Hello? Sorry.
Hi, Tayo.
So
Hello,
this is a string. Yeah? Yeah?
Yeah, we're having some difficulty hearing you. Everyone, can we get Tayo, please? To speak louder, or is it okay if you can notify on the chat, chat by your left-hand side, on the right-hand side? That would be very good. Tayo, please, you can go ahead. Thank you.
Okay. So
Thank you.
this is a strange value, right? This is a number, and this is a Boolean, right? We can convert between types. You have a number, but need to print it on the screen. You can convert it to. There's something they call coercion in JavaScript. but I guess that for now it still seems a bit advanced. So for instance, var A is equals to 42, right? 42 is actually a string, and if you do var B, variable B, declaring the variable of B, you know, and assigning it to number, and assigning it to number, for instance, right? What do you think this is going to print out? Hmm? Okay.
Yeah, everyone, you can respond to Tayo's. Everyone is muted, sorry.
Okay.
Everyone, you can unmute to respond to Tayo's response. Or you can type it, any one of them.
So what do you think this is going to respond like? It's going to print out, right? So what happens is that both of them comes out as 42, a number, not a string that's repeated. So JavaScript has a way of forcefully causing between types, right? So when it sees something, you put something in a string 42, it just decides that, okay, you know what, you're actually trying to use a number, not a string, and it just brings out 42 for you instead of bringing it in quotes as a string. If this was so basically, so it has a way of forcefully causing numbers into string or string into numbers. So we're using this number method from Java. We'll get into methods very soon when we get to functions, which actually gives us what we want as actually numbers, right? But in the first instance, it comes out as it just possibly changes your values. So which going forward you might run into some issues. So another aspect of things we should look into is code commencing. I noticed in the last class I told you about when you're actually writing your code, you basically need to know how to comment, because when you're writing your code, you're not just writing for yourself, you're writing for um, your teammates, you know, you're writing for your future self. So if for instance, this is as an example, like I write a function, I'm trying to write a function that says go to school, right? The best way is to actually say go to school. Anybody that sees this will know that, okay, I'm actually trying to write a function that allows you to go to school. But in the same time, you can also try to comment this thing so that I can say, okay, I can have a comment there that says um, function, like say a function that helps you go to school. So that whenever you come and you see this, you have an idea that, you know what, this is what this function is about. It just gives you an understanding of what the code is about. And you can have multiple line comments using what's it called? Your backslash. You can have multiple comments using this. So I can have multiple lines of comments instead of doing. So the first one is called single line commenting, and this one is called multiple line commenting. So I can have more comments as much as the information I want to pass to the user. You can also put comments in front of your what's it called, your code. So I can do this and put this here, you know, and put this like this, right? And or I can put it in front of my variable. I can put it in front of my variable, right? And by the time you run your code, it doesn't show up on your code. It just comments, it just stays on the code itself, right? So since the beginning of the class, we've been talking about variables, right? So as I said, variables are like containers, right? So let's say for amount, and that's the value of 999, right? So variables are like containers, as I've been stating earlier, that They are like containers that are being assigned values. So 999 is a value assigned to the variable declaration called amount. We can do anything with variables. I know I've played around with that already. Um, go amount and you log this out, it's going to show up on the console, right? You can do a lot of things with variables, and there are other things we get into called OST and all that. So in JavaScript, right, the concept of blocks, unlike other programming languages, doesn't necessarily apply, right? The advent of ES6, which is ECMAScript 6, you can have something like when we get to functions, we'll talk about the other variable types, because for now, to understand, we need to talk about scopes and stuff. And for now, I think we can always come back to that. Let's just continue with variables. So the next thing we want to do is conditionals, which is part of what we're meant to talk about, the conditionals. So I don't know if any of you have heard about if-else statements and all that. That's what we'll be focusing on today. So let me start with an example, right? I can say I have a variable declaration of balance, and I'm assigning the value of 300 to it, right? And I have a variable of amount, and I'm assigning the variable of the value of 99 to it. I can say if amount, sorry, if amount is lesser than, so the other what's it called, when the arrow is pointing to the left side is lesser than, and if it's pointing to the right side is greater than. So if amount is greater than balance, right, we can say console.log I want this phone. I just want to log anything you have in mind, right? And if I run this, you can see, because amount, if amount is lesser than balance, it should console.log this. So amount basically is lesser than balance. But if I say if amount is greater than balance, run this, it will not show anything, right? Because it's what is happening right now is more like a Boolean, either it's true or it's false. So if it's lesser than balance, we're telling you that you should console.log this stuff, right? So we can do other things outside console.logging this kind of information. There's also the else. If amount is lesser than balance, console.log this, else we can say console.log no thanks, right? So for instance, now when I say if amount is greater than balance, which is not, I'm going to log out no thanks because it is not. So it's a if it's a true or false statement. You can also say else if. We can say else if and put something else in it, Let's just say text, for instance, on FA. So let's say both of them are 300, 300. Let's see what happens. Syntax error. So basically what you do, the ones you majorly work with is the if and else statement. There are other types of conditionals though. The other type of conditionals, we also have the switch case, which we'll get to very soon. But let's get into the next one, which if you have any questions on conditionals, let me know. Hello. If you have any questions on conditionals, let me know before we move on to loops. Let's first do an assignment on. Let's do a small assignment on conditionals. Um, Let me think of something. So I'm just going to speak. I need you to write. I know I talked about peer programming the last time, where I just need to let you know what you need to do. So using the variable, declaring a variable called what will I use? Declare a variable called age and assign it to the value of your age, basically, like whatever your age is. And also declare a variable called name and assign it to a string of your name. So if your name is Boyega, for instance, put in quotes like a string itself and put Boyega in it. So your age. I'm also writing. I don't want to write it on the screen, so let me also be solving it at my own end. So declare a variable called age with your age itself, and declare a variable called name with your name in a string, like as a string. So the first one as a number and the other one as a string. Have you done that? So what we are trying to do right now is using an if statement, right? We want to know if um, um, our age is greater than the length of our name. So we can say if, so you use the if statement, if age is lesser than your name dot length, if age is greater than your age dot length, console.log age is greater, else console.log name is greater. Let me know if I wish I could see your screens. Okay, you can actually share your screen, um, your work with me. So just share the link so I can actually see what you've done. I don't know if you got this exactly. So which of you have done it? Have we done it?
Don't look at the variable, but I don't have anything shown on my console.
You know what? So just tell me what you have done. Let me type it to the screen so everybody. Let's fail publicly. Hmm?
Can you hear me?
So which of you is talking? What's your name?
I didn't hear that.
Is that your screen? Okay. This is Rahim's screen. So as you can see, can we all see it? So Rahim, one thing you should know, you the semicolon should always be in the same line with the statement, not after, because with JavaScript, what you just did right now is you are declaring two statements, which is name and an empty statement that doesn't have anything. So your don't make the mistake of putting your semicolon in the next line, you know. So I think you should solve that now. Great. So as you can see, what he did there, he declared a variable called name and assigned the value of 26 to it. And he declared a variable called name and assigned a string of his name to it. Then he did a conditional statement saying if his age is lesser than his name.length, which it is, you should console.log name.length. Else, I can also say on your console.log, always try to make them be on the same line, right? Unless you're having a long distance, like you don't want to confuse the language, right? If it's on some browsers, you will actually see that it might just come out as an error. So he did an else that, okay, age is greater. So if for instance, now if you change the greater than sign to lesser than, if age is lesser than name.length, which it is, if age is greater than, so you can change the what's it called, greater sign there to the lesser than sign there to greater than, and you see that. Please do that. You see that. Run it. As you can see, what is happening? Have you run it? If age If age is greater than name.length, which it is, console.log, always end your statements with a semicolon. And let's try to run it again. Okay. If age is lesser than name.length, which is not, console.log name is greater, else console.log name is lesser, age is lesser. But age is not lesser. Age is not lesser. So what's wrong? Let me try to do it from my end. So let me change this to age. Let me change this to name. So the best way to debug is to always do things like console of log, right? So if I say name console.log name.length, and let me just comment this out, and I run this. Yeah, name.length is 8. So if I do if age is okay, if age is greater than name. Let me just keep it on so I don't make any mistake. If age is greater than name.length, console.log age is greater. Else console.log name is console.log name is. So if I run this, of course age is greater. But if I'm to use age here and I put name, if name is greater than if name is lesser than age of length, which it is not. If you run this, it still shows name is greater, right? If you have any question, just straight at me. You can see because I use the length of this one is 3, which is 1, 2, 3. So don't confuse the length with the number itself. What JavaScript is just doing is counting this length. That's what the dot length actually does. If you have any question, throw it at me so that we can go on to function, which is though I wouldn't say we have actually started with a proper introduction to JavaScript, but this is like playing around and understanding what we need to understand. I'll share a resource with us by one of my favorite teacher. His name is Ken, what's it called? Karen Simpson. And he has a book called You Don't Know JS. He actually has it on the introduction to these things. Let me look at his repository. You should have it somewhere. So up I'm going. So you can always use this link to actually learn more. I'm going to share it on Slack. Okay. So since there are no questions, let's go into functions. Or should we? Want to confuse ourselves with any of those. You get. So when you do length name.length, what length does it? It counts what is the length of what you have in it. So.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. We also have loops, right? This is another interesting one. We have what we have the while loops, we have the for loops. The while and the for loops are one of the majors. We have the do while loops. It's all the strange things, right? So let's say, let me use an example. Like I'm reading from somewhere, so just listen. During busy times, there is a waiting list of customers who need to speak to the phone stock employees. Why there is still people on the list. She just needs to keep serving the next customer. You know, repeating a set of action until a certain condition fails. In other words, repeating only while the condition loads. Is the job of is the job of programming loops. Is the job of programming loops. Sorry. Loops can take different forms, but they all satisfy this basic behavior, which is the way loop works is why this is doing this. If why let's say why 8 is lesser than 10, keep doing this until it gets to 10. It will keep looping. It will still keep being on the while loop. So let's do an example of a while loop. There are different types of while loops. Of loops. We have the for loops. You know, the other ones, we have the for each and other ones like that. But the two major ones we'll be focusing on today is the while loop and the for loop. So let's use the while loop. Loops. This is also something we need to know. So let's say the variable number of customers. So the way I'm writing my customer, if you notice, is called camel case. It's one of the best way to actually write what's it called, your variable names. So if you have a long list of a name that expands, like if I want to use let's the same way I'm using number of customers, right? Instead of doing number or writing everything all the same or doing like this, though this one is also correct, you can also do it this way, but I always prefer to do camel case, and it makes work easier. So let's give this 30, right? So we can say while number, you can see the editor actually brings out what's it called? It just gives us it makes it easy for us to actually find variables that we declared earlier. So I can just click on enter, you know, while number of customers is lesser than 0, right? You can say console.log, how may I help you? The funny thing about while loop is that if the conditions are not met, it can blow up your system. When I mean blow up, I don't mean actual catch fireball. You know, just use up all your memory. You know, so we are saying why number of customer, which is 30. Let's just call it why number of customer is greater than 0. Sorry, I keep saying less than. Why number of customer is greater than 0, you should keep console.logging how can I help you, and we should do customer number of customers is equal to number of customer, which is what we have up there, -1. So if we try to run this, it's going to loop 30 times, I think. You know, let's hope it doesn't blow the system. As you can see, how can I help you? How can I help you? So until it gets to 0, it gets to minus in 30 minus 1, 29 minus 1, what's it called? 28, you know, till it gets to 1. So as long as it is lesser than 0, it kept doing that until it got to what's it called? You know, we can also do what they call a do while loop. So you can say do console.log yeah, I help you. Let me just comment this out so it doesn't disrupt what we're doing. we can do this. How may I help you? So the concept of the do while loop is saying do this while do console.log this, and also let's say number of customers equals to this -1 while number of customers, so it's almost the same, but instead of just looping, we're actually giving it a command that, okay, I want you to do this while number of customer is lesser than 0. So it will run this, then it will check your while loop to know to check if number of customer is greater than 0. If it's greater than 0, it will do the while loop again. So if we run this, we have almost something similar. See, if you notice at the end, it actually gives us an output of 0 because number of customer is not greater than 0 anymore. But why number of customer is greater than 0, keep doing console.log, how may I help you, and subtracting number of customers, that's 30, from number of customers from 1. So it keeps doing the same thing, it just keeps going on the same loop, right? So I don't want us to just jump into functions, because when we are talking about functions, we want to do what's it called? When we are talking about functions, we talk about functions, and we also do like proper, I think proper project on working project. I'll think of something we should work on. But for now, I want to give us some. It's best you actually do this today, So we're actually going to use the while loop to actually run this, and it helps with your problem thinking ability. I think should I just post this on Slack, or let me use Google Slack jobs so that I can just share it with you guys. So so people like me that would not write anything, it's always difficult. So this assignment is called the Fuse Boost. Like you do it a lot in the state. So you are basically using while to do most of this. So your goal is to figure this out. You basically do this in a lot of interviews, right? Something you should know. So I would advise that you figure it out. You try to think, because if you go and check it online, you'll find it. I'll be very honest with you. But before you do that, it's best you try to figure it out, because at the end of the day, it's about understanding how loops work, right? This is one assignment. Before we go, let's also try to do the for loop. Let's also try to do the for loop. Did you see that? Let me share that with you guys first. How do I do this thing? Oops. Okay. So I can also add more. I can also add more going forward, but for now, we should do this. Let's also, sorry. let's see what we can learn on for loop. Let me use Google Docs, what's it called? This to explain for loop. So as I've always keep saying, the documentation is your best friend. You know, as much as you read other materials, always go back to the documentation to learn as much as possible. So basically, as you can see, the for loop repeats until a specific condition and evaluates to false. The JavaScript for loop is similar to, you know, I don't think anyone has done Java or C. So, and if you can see the way what they did here, let me bring that to our work environment. You see what they did here. The way the for loop works is, let's say, for let's say for var I is equals to, let's say, 10. And if you notice in the for loop, we also have condition. So this is the initial expression. We also have a condition. And let's say and I is lesser than or equal to. So what is happening is that the first initial expression is actually declaring a variable, and we are assigning, and we can assign anything to it. Then the next one is a condition. We can say if, so let's just use if in our mind now. If I is lesser than or equal to 10, right? We should increment it, I++. You do a lot of this basically, and always try to put your stuff in. Though because we are trying to do one line, right? We can leave it that way, but it's always best to put your code in the block, which is the opening and closing parentheses. So we should console the log. So what do you think is going to happen here? In my own case, I think it's going to be an everlasting loop. Sorry. So this is actually a statement, and always close your statement with a. Okay. Sorry, I can't talk right now. I'm actually in the class. Yeah, just give me. Okay, sorry about that. So what do you think it's? So what I'm doing right now is I'm saying declaring a variable I and assigning the value of 1 to it, and I'm saying if I is greater than is lesser than 100, it should increment, and the value basically we want to show show I every time we do this. You know. Why is it giving me something? Giving me 20. Oh, let me just try something else. I think the block statement is causing that not to show up. Let's just assign I to text. Let's see what happens. Until oh. Look at me. So this is one big mistake we always make as engineers. Like now, look at the big error here. Look at the big error. You should understand that everything I was doing since everything we are doing in the for loop is statements. So the mistake was using comma instead of semicolon, right? So that's why we're unable to actually print anything, you know. So if I do this now, it should run. Say it went from 0 to 100, right? So the for loop makes it possible for you to do loops and iteration. Like a lot of the times you'll be using a lot of for loops, right? Even in the assignment that I just gave to you, you can also try to use for loop. But the goal of the assignment is to help you expand your thinking, you know, problem solving. And I think also going forward, we'll be using, I'll introduce you guys to code walls, you know, because though we have to do a lot of UI stuff, but you need to even understand JavaScript to be able to get into, like to sign up for this account, you need to pass JavaScript to get an account, you have to actually pass some JavaScript courses before you can even get into this. So we can like for me now, I'm actually using one of the advanced, sorry, keep clicking on the screen. You know, it gives me questions and, you know, problem solving to help me expand on my thinking on JavaScript. So it's something I would expect you guys get yourself into, because by the time you start solving more problems, you start, you know, understanding JavaScript more and more. So if this was just 10, because I assigned the value of 0 and 0 is lesser than I, 0 is lesser than 10, it kept incrementing. So just doing it to 1 to 10 now, you see, just that simple, you know. So we can also say, if I used var, let me make that clear. It's just going to give us the outputs. Okay. So the concept of in JavaScript, there are two things that were introduced in ES6, which is the let and const. So when we get to Java functions, we'll talk more about the let and const. So the only thing that has block scope, basically in JavaScript, I think is function. But the var keyword, you know, it's more like it leaks data to because it's not confined to block scoping. It leaks data to the rest of the program, which would cause a lot of issues. So a lot of people would say use const, you know, because with const you can't reassign. Let me give you an example of const. You can't reassign. So if you say const a is equal to 50, right? Console of log. It works like var, but you can't reassign a value to it. It's not that you can't reassign, but there are things, right? It gives me 50. If I come here and say A is equal to 40, I'm going to get an error, right? I'm going to get an error. But if this was var, sorry to use the word var, something is wrong with var. Look at what happened. You just pushed away the initial, what's it called, the initial value of 50 that we assigned to A. So a lot of people would say use const, because if you set something to const, it cannot be reassigned, right? And I think the same thing doesn't apply to let, but the concept of the let is for block scoping. So if I put this guy now in the block, if I put this guy in a block now, right, and I do this, right, it's basically going to give me 40, right? If I bring this my console.log and I put it inside here, what do you think is going to happen? It's going to give me what is in here. If I remove this one from here now, it's not going to give me what is outside. It's not going to give me what is outside the block scope. It's only going to give me something in that block scope. So if I remove my console.log from inside the block scope, I'm actually telling it to give me content from outside the. So this what is called outside. The outside this environment, sorry, this environment here, everything outside here is called the global scope, right? And what is in here, inside the block, is called the local scope, you know, and it gets deeper and deeper and deeper. But when we get into functions, we'll expatiate more on that. But for now, I think we should, I know we didn't have enough time to go on a lot of things, but I want you to go and deepen your understanding on loops and the conditional statements and loops. You know, play around, look for resource question. You need to understand JavaScript to be able to do, let's say, React.js, for instance. So let's try to do the assignment on this. If I add more to it, I'd let you guys know. You know, I'd let you guys know. So if you have any question before the end of the class, you know, I have to go and have my bath. So if you have any question, just straight at me. Let's talk. Let's find trouble together. No question. Going. Kindly, if you have any input you want to give, I think you should go straight on the floor. If you are online, actually. Okay. Guess we know everything then.
Yeah, I think that.
Yeah?
Yeah, well done. I think it's been a good class. Okay. Do you have any question, anyone? First of all, everybody, apologies for the technical.
If I actually had the meeting, like if I do this in the office, it might not have been like this. Like,
what did you say?
I said if I had done this in the office, I might not have had a lot of technical glitches from my end.
Yeah.
I didn't expect that I won't be going to the office today.
It's fine. Do you have any question, anyone? Question, anybody? From Bayern, Didi, Benjamin,
you know, if you have any questions, you can also throw it on the Slack channel. I'll be available to answer any of the challenges that you face.
Exactly.
And I will also update. You said?
No, please go on, please go on.
Yeah, I would also update the assignment with some other challenges, because if I'm asking you to go and look for challenges yourself, you might want to shy out away from it. So, you know, before the end of the day, I will still update it and I'll let you guys know that I've updated it. You know, so basically, I think I'll give you an assignment for today, tomorrow, today is Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. You know, so basically, a total of 4 assignments on understanding loops and for loops, challenging yourself on that. So I will update the assignment sheets today, and I'll let you know how it goes. So thank you guys very much. And the Carl Simpson's what's it called that I shared? Yeah, the Carl Simpson's GitHub repo that I shared. He actually it's a book that you should buy, but at the same time he open sourced it and you can read it online. To expand on introduction to JavaScript itself. So thank you guys very much for your time, and I'll see you on Slack and see you on Monday.
All right, everyone. Thank you, Tyler. So everyone, the link to the video was recorded, so the link should be available on Slack anytime soon. So as soon as this broadcast ends, we'll get a link and then we'll post it on Slack. Everybody can always go back to watch the video. So if you have any issues while you're trying to write the script, you can always follow through. And if you have a question, even after this call, you can always throw it on Slack to communicate with everyone. All right, that's all for today.
All right, guys, take care.
Yeah, bye.
Bye.
How was the class? Was it stressful? Was it useful? You learn something? Was it a lot of stuff?